y'all, what's up? If you are new to any of my social media platforms or don't know who I am, my name is Channing and I live in New York City. And I thought about posting about this topic on my blog, but there's just so much to say that I thought it'd be easier just to sit down and make a video about it, and then the video will always be here. I know sometimes it can get a little confusing on blogs, like how to go back and find information when you need it. So I thought if I made it in a video, it would be a lot easier for you to come back and access this if you need this information in the future. So a little bit about me. I have lived in New York City for a year now. I am from Texas and I moved here after graduation. I graduated college in May 2019 and I moved up to the city in June 2019, and I just re-signed my lease for another year. So I'm staying in this apartment for another year. But the apartment hunting process in New York City is crazy, especially if you're somebody from out of state or even just like outside the area and you don't understand how real estate in New York City works, because like a bunch of people have said, I've watched a ton of these types of videos on YouTube, and the New York City real estate process is crazy, and it's a lot different than hunting for apartments in other cities in the US. So I thought I would share my experience and give you some tips, and maybe this will help you if you are planning on moving to New York City in the future. And then before you go, hit the subscribe button, and then I have the rest of my links to my blog and my Instagram and my TikTok down below. If you see me looking down, I have some notes here to keep me on track. So the first thing I would suggest is you need to get the STREETEASY app and get on the STREETEASY website. Not sponsored by STREETEASY, but it's a total game changer and the easiest way to find apartments. It's a website and an app, and it is exclusively for apartments in New York City. So they know New York City real estate. So STREETEASY is a site. It'll show you all the apartments that are on the market. It's a very credible website. And the cool thing about STREETEASY is they have a ton of different filters. So not only can you filter by budget, but you can do budget, location, does it have a dishwasher, does it have a laundry room in the building, stuff like that. So you can get really specific on STREETEASY. So what I did personally is, starting about the second semester of my senior year of college, because I knew I wanted to move up here after graduation, I would just check STREETEASY before I went to bed every night, just to see what you can get for your money in what neighborhoods. Just doing some educational research, just to kind of get my bearings on this is what this much money can get me. This is what kind of appliances you can get in these neighborhoods, just preliminary research. But you're not gonna start looking at actual units until the month that you're going to move. So for me personally, I came up here with my parents to look at apartments the first week of June, and then I moved here in the middle of June. So for my current unit, I might get the dates wrong, but I think I turned in the application on June 5th, found out that I got approved the next day, and then I moved here June 18th. I for sure moved here June 18th, but I think that the application will be sent in on June 5th. So it's a very quick turnaround process, where I know some of my friends back in Texas will you can apply for an apartment in June and sign the lease in June and not move in until August. That is not the case in New York City. So like I was saying earlier, do your preliminary research the months leading up before you're going to move, but don't actually bookmark units on STREETEASY until the month that you're actually going to move. So another story time about this, for my current apartment, when I came up here with my parents, we came up here on a Sunday. On Monday, we didn't even see this apartment that I live in now. This apartment went on the market Monday night. So Monday night, we saw it on STREETEASY. Tuesday morning, we called the broker and came and saw it Tuesday and turned in the application that night. So this apartment wasn't even on the market before we came up here. So it goes super, super quick. So that's another key point. You need to be very fast when looking at apartments in New York City. And since the process goes super quick, I would come to the apartments with all your paperwork prepared. So when me and my parents were going around touring these places, carried around like a file folder with all the necessary paperwork for the apartment. So in case I found an apartment and we were gonna start the application that night, like we had all the paperwork with us. And so some of the paperwork for New York City includes your bank statements, pay stubs. For me, I had accepted a job, but I hadn't started the job yet. So I provided my offer letter, which had my start date and my salary. So I hadn't been paid yet, but on the application they could see how much money I was going to be making once I started the job. I know some apartments here require reference letters from like a previous apartment that you've lived in. Mine did not include that, but just have all your paperwork in order just to make the process go a lot quicker. And because you could start the application and not have something prepared, and somebody else could be starting the application on the same day, and then you lose the apartment simply just because you were not prepared. So have all your necessary paperwork. Another tip I have is to avoid apartments that have broker's fees. This is common in New York. I think they're trying to get rid of broker's fees, but I don't know what the status on that is right now. So this is another thing you can filter out when you're looking at apartments online on StreetEasy. My apartment was a no broker fee apartment because that's just an additional fee that you have to pay up front, and it's not going anywhere. It just goes to the broker. But there are other apartments that have no broker's fee, so why would you pay extra money when you don't have to? Like when you move to New York, I'm sure you've seen this in a lot of other videos, you have to pay like a security deposit, like first month's rent, last month's rent. Like it varies by buildings, but you're paying a large sum of money up front, so you don't also want to be paying a broker's fee because that's just money that you could be saving towards future rent. So avoid apartments with broker's fees. Again, jumping back to filtering, you need to set your non-negotiables before you start looking at places. So it is New York City, so no apartment is going to have everything unless you're like a millionaire living in a townhouse or something. But no apartment is going to have everything, so you need to set for you what are non-negotiable for you. So for example, a couple of the non-negotiables that I had is at minimum, I wanted laundry in the building. Here it's impossible to find laundry in unit. So at minimum, I wanted laundry in the building, and I wanted a bathroom that has a bathtub and not a shower because I love taking bubble baths, and that's something that I didn't want to sacrifice. And then another one I had is if the unit was above the 3rd floor, I wanted an elevator. The 3rd floor was kind of my threshold of I could take the stairs, but if it was above the 3rd floor, I really wanted to have an elevator. So those were some of mine. They're gonna be completely different for everybody. You're not gonna get everything. So just set that up and go into it with these are my non-negotiables. I'm not even going to go tour apartments that are missing these things. Another thing to keep in mind is not only the apartment building and the apartment unit itself, you need to keep in mind the location. And I'm not just talking about neighborhood specifically, but really take into consideration how close you are to a subway, how close you are to a grocery store, how close you are to your bank, how close you are to a drugstore, etc. Because that is just going to make your life a lot easier. So if you're close to a subway station that you can get a ton of places, it might be a little more expensive, but in the long run, you're saving money by like not using Uber or taxis because you're gonna be more inclined to subway everywhere. That's just one example. Another thing is just like the grocery store in general, like keep in mind, you're gonna be carrying your groceries everywhere. So it's not just like back where I live in Texas where you can drive to the grocery store. So it doesn't matter as much like how many minutes you are from the grocery store, because here you're gonna be walking there and carrying everything. So those are other things to keep in mind when looking at the price of the rent of a unit, because it's not just about the physical unit, it's about your surroundings. Bouncing off of that point, if you're able to, you need to go physically see the units, because a unit might have 10 gorgeous pictures of it online, but you don't know what the street looks like from the outside. So like for example, we went and saw one unit and the unit looked stunning online. The building had recently been renovated. The pictures were gorgeous. And then we went to see it, and it was one of those that like me and my parents were just kind of looking at each other when we were like walking up, like the street was just not a good street, even though the building was beautiful and renovated. So me and my parents decided we weren't even gonna go into the building because it was like I couldn't see myself living on this street. So I definitely recommend going to look at the apartments and really check out the surroundings as well, because you are going to be living there and it's not like you're just gonna be in your little unit, at least not during quarantine. So really think about the surrounding areas and how close you are to different amenities. So wrapping everything up, just summarizing my key points. Start browsing a few months ahead, but you're not going to see those actual units. Go start looking at units the actual month that you are going to move. Set your non-negotiables and look for apartments without broker's fees. Have all your paperwork prepared, and be sure to thoroughly read the rules and don't get caught off guard if the search is absolutely ridiculous. I hope this helps. Feel free to leave me a comment and I will try to answer your questions. And yeah, be sure you're following me on Instagram and my other social platforms, and I hope to post more New York related videos in the future.